So now let's go ahead and discuss the informative speech outline. So right here I have two attached files. One says an instructor example outline. You could view that before you start your speech outline. Make sure that you do this assignment first before you actually record your informative speech video. There's an outline template that I have provided for you. So let's go ahead and click on this outline template. It's a Word document. So this is what it looks like. Let's go ahead and read the instructions. I have created this outline form to show you exactly what should be included in your outline. In your introduction, you should write out your attention getter, connection to the audience, credibility statement. This should also be done in the body of the speech outline and in the conclusion. To earn full credit for this outline, it should be a full sentence outline. So once you have typed in the information, make sure that you type the information in a complete sentence. Read the instructions first. Once you've read the instructions and have viewed the example outline, you could go ahead and delete the instructions, and I just want your information on the outline. So the first thing is asking you for your name. The topic, let's say I decide to talk about the vegan diet. General purpose, this is an informative speech, so you just type in 2 words, to inform. Specific purpose, and in chapters 13 through 16, they discuss these terms. So you please read the chapter so that you can understand the general purpose, specific purpose, organizational pattern. So my specific purpose is, after listening to my speech, and you can begin with that. You can use that same thing as I'm using. After listening to my speech, the audience will have an understanding of why people adopt a vegan diet. Organizational pattern. I'm going to use a topical pattern for this speech. There's other patterns that you could use. The book talks about various patterns for informative speech. And now the introduction consists of attention getter, connection to audience, and thesis statement. In the attention getter, this is an area you want. How are you going to get your audience to listen to your speech? Be creative. Pull the audience into the presentation. Sometimes it is human nature to feel compelled to announce the topic of the speech, but it really doesn't do a good job in engaging your audience at all. Never begin a speech by stating your name and what you're going to be talking about. So don't say, hello, my name is so-and-so, and this is what I'm going to be talking about. That's not engaging your audience. In the chapters, it talks about different examples of how you can begin your speech with what attention getter. You can show a video clip no more than 30 seconds. You can ask a rhetorical question. You can state a quote or a short story, something that is related to your topic and that is going to bring your audience to want to listen to you from the very beginning. Then you have the connection to audience. This is where you write, how does this relate to your audience? Why should they listen to you? How does this topic relate to them? And then you have your thesis statement. This is a 1-sentence statement and it should be a complete sentence, and it should include the 3 main points that you're going to be talking about throughout your speech. You are required to present at least 3 main points. Stick with just 3 main points. You're also going to be using transitional words. Transitional words help the speech flow smoothly. It allows the audience not to get lost in your speech. You're taking your audience on a trip, on a journey. You never want to lose them in that journey. So make sure you use transitional words to guide them that you are now finished. You finished talking about main point 1, and now you're going to talk about main point number 2. So right here, I have instructions here. A transition is a bridge from one thought to another. This is where you'll want to introduce your first main point. Try to be creative. Use a creative transition, but if you can simply state, my first point is whatever. This is the body of your outline. Like I said, you'll have 3 main points. Main point 1, main point 2, and main point 3. And for each main point, you are required to have at least 2 subpoints. I typed in subpoint 3, but if you do not use subpoint 3, just go ahead and delete it. But you must have at least 2 subpoints for each main point. I have here, when you have finished talking about main point 1, and how are you going to delve into talking about main point number 2? You can just say, now that we've covered main point 1, let's move to discuss main point 2, which is, again, feel free to be creative in your transition. Just remember that your transitions need to review your last point and preview your next point. This establishes a connection, and it's a good time to remind the audience why this information is important. So what you would do here, you could still use this now that we've covered. Let's move on to, you would delete this instruction here. And you write and you type in your own information. You type in main point number 2 in a complete sentence, just like you did for main point 1. And you'll type in your subpoints, at least 2 subpoints for each main point. And your subpoints, let's go back here. Your subpoints are things that explain your main points. They're your supporting material. It's the research that you found. That's your subpoints. So that's where you use stats, examples, definition, comparisons, expert opinions. That's your subpoints, the research that you have found. That's what you're going to include in your subpoints. It is supporting that main point. Now you've done main point number 2. You're now transitioning into your last main point, which is number 3. Now that we've covered main point 1, and you say your main point 1, and also main point 2, and you say your main point 2, finally we will delve into our last main point, which is and stated. Now you reach your conclusion. It signals the end. So you could use words like finally, in a word, in brief, in conclusion, in the end. This allows the audience to know, hey, this speaker is almost finishing, and this kind of perks them up in listening a little bit more because, again, the audience, they're going to remember what you said in the beginning and at the end. And the end is very important, just like the beginning. So make sure you find a creative way to end. Never end with, that's all I have, that's it, thank you for your time. End it with a memorable conclusion. You can go ahead and end it with a quote, a rhetorical question, a story, anything that it relates back to the topic. Then after that, you'll type in your sources that you use, your 3 sources. Remember, you could use MLA or APA format. Make sure, though, that you include your 3 sources. Also, throughout your presentation, in your informative speech, make sure you mention those sources as you present. This adds credibility. So if you did your speech on, let's say, heart disease, and you use one of your research, one of your sources, the Mayo Clinic, you would probably say, according to the Mayo Clinic, they did a research on whatever, patients who had a family history of heart disease and they found out. You need to mention that as you are presenting your speech. This adds credibility to what you're saying. So now let's go ahead and remember to save it. And then now let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and click on the example outline. So this is an example outline of a student, of a past student of mine. The student did their topic on Steve Jobs' influence on the creation of the animation company Pixar. They went ahead, this was an informative speech, so they just typed in 2 words to inform, and then the specific purpose. What's your goal? What is it, the message that you're telling the audience, what's the goal in that message? So you can start off with your specific purpose. After listening to my speech, my audience will have a greater understanding of Steve Jobs' profound influence on Pixar and how he made it to become what it is today. The student used a chronological pattern, and the student did a wonderful job on the attention getter. They did not start off saying, "Hello, my name is." They started it off with, imagine you co-founded the most influential company of its time. You become known as one of the most innovative people in the world. Yet one day your world changes. You attend a board of directors meeting and the CEO says you're no longer wanted in this organization. This is exactly what happened to Steve Jobs. In 1984, Jobs was fired from Apple, but instead of taking a break from his innovation, he created a new company. See that? This drew the audience attention, and many people did not know that Steve Jobs was fired. Now, the student did an excellent job on connection to audience. How does this relate to the audience? And the student asked, how many of you have grown up with the movies Toy Story, Monster Inc., Finding Nemo? Yet few know that Steve Jobs was one of the founders of Pixar after he was fired from Apple, and his influence on the company allowed it to be the Pixar as it is today. So that was one way of connecting to the audience, because many in the audience had seen those movies, or if they didn't see those movies, they knew someone who had seen those movies. Then, this is a thesis statement. They included the 3 main points in the thesis statement, and the thesis statement is in a complete sentence. So make sure it's a complete sentence, and the 3 main points that you're going to be talking about throughout your entire speech should be included in the thesis statement. And then as you see here, the student used transitional words, typed in a complete sentence for main point 1, complete sentence for the subpoints, complete sentence in main point 2 and 3 in the subpoints. And at the end, the student did an excellent job on the conclusion and a memorable statement, which the student ended with a quote. And then they also typed in the information, the sources they used for this research. So this is what you should be doing first before you record. You always start out with your outline. So let's go back to unit lesson 2. Again, this outline is worth 75 points. Once you have completed the outline and you have saved it, then you click on the informative speech outline link, assignment link. So click on that. Then right here, you would click on Browse My Computer. You've saved the outline, whether on your desktop or flash drive. attach it, and then click on Submit. Let's go back to unit lesson. Back to unit lesson 2. Make sure you read the sources, the resources, the links that I have provided for you. Make sure again to watch this, how to upload your speech on YouTube. You've read your speech delivery method. You have read the instructions for your informative speech, your informative speech outline. You've seen these videos. These are great videos that you can watch. This is a sample video. This was not my student. I just saw this on YouTube and I thought this person did a nice job in presenting an informative speech. As I said in the informative speech, you have the speech video and the PowerPoint. If your eyes are going to be only on the PowerPoint and not looking at me at the device, whatever device you're using to record, then forgo the PowerPoint. You still have to submit it, but I want to see eye contact. I want to see that you are speaking and maintaining eye contact. And you could use your notes, only 5 note cards, and write keywords and phrases on the note cards. Do not read your speech, because you already know if you read the entire speech, you will get no more than a 70%, and that's if everything else you've done correctly. So practice. Practice, practice, practice until you're comfortable, until you feel you have a good grasp on the topic and not have to look at your note cards, and be able to speak to your audience with all confidence, conversational, and with authority, that you know your topic well. Have any questions? You know that you can email me. Make sure you do not start this assignment the day before or 2 days before, because you're going to run into some problems. Make sure you have allowed yourself plenty of time to upload your speech video to YouTube, because that takes a while. Believe me, I've done that. So do not wait until 30 minutes before the assignment is due before you upload, because it will not upload. It will not upload. So do not be one of those students who procrastinates. You have plenty of time for this assignment, and I do expect that you turn in the assignment on the assigned due date. Where you will find the assigned due date, you will need to check your course organizer. And also make sure, my last thing here, the Unit Lesson 2 checklist, not only your speech assignment and your speech outline, you also have to do your discussion board unit quizzes. So make sure that you view every unit lesson checklist. Thank you for your time.